Happy Monday, everyone. Great to see you in the chat. Coleman, don't don't mess up on your final because you're watching this. We can't have that. But if you have a question on your final you're having trouble with, just put it in the chat and the chat will answer it. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's cheating. DTF Prince down in South Africa. What time is it there? Is it like 6 or 7 at night in South Africa? You have to let me know. Hey, if you haven't noticed, wow, Jeremy got some Black Friday deals on lights. I actually don't have all of my new lights in. I've got one that's supposed to add a little like color edge to the top of my noggin. That one's not in yet because I have to like actually install something on my ceiling to mount it. But yeah, so new look. It's good. I mean, there's some fun things I can do with it. I'm not going to mess with it right now because it'll screw the whole thing up. But hey, Matt, thanks for tuning in. 8 o'clock. Not too bad. Cityverse, welcome. Welcome to the live stream. You may have watched before, but you've never commented before. So thank you. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate you. I like that that logo. That's pretty sweet. All right, so let's chat. I was in 3 different shops this last week, all up the Eastern Coast. Basically, Baltimore, outside of Philly, and northern New Jersey. And every one of them had their quirks. All of them have been doing DTF for quite some time. And there was some interesting things going on. And I'll get into that in a little bit as well. But Carl, what's happening? Yeah. So, but first I want to talk about freaking printheads. I see oftentimes people on the forums are like swapping out the printheads like real quick. Like people are real quick to go straight to the printhead being the failure. And so I want to talk about some of the stuff that you can do to figure out if you need to swap out your printhead or not. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you just have to swap out your printhead. But sometimes it's something else entirely. And usually something else is a lot cheaper than a printhead because especially those i3200s, they are not cheap. And if you're finding them for like under $1,000, they're probably refurbished, if even that. So yeah, so let's chat about that. And then we'll chat about the things that I saw this week in shops. And I talked to all of them. So nothing I'm sharing here is going to be like news to them. So, and this is one of the reasons I don't often post about where I'm at. That and the other thing is that I travel a lot and I don't necessarily want the world knowing that I'm not home. But from a family standpoint. But the other thing is I want to be able to talk about what I see in these shops. And I don't want to like be critical of anyone. I think everyone out there is just doing their best. The best job that they can, they know how to do. And some of them, it's like, I was never told that information. I'm like, yeah, I know. But we'll get into that. Anyway, those are a doozy. The Mamaki printheads, those are not cheap. The i1600 that's in my Prestige, not terribly expensive. Wonderful. And the XP 600s are like $400 or $500, I think. But anyway, so early days in DTF, we just threw printheads at machines to try to see if we could make them print better. And I think what we've learned is that the majority of the problems early days was not the printheads. It was the consumables, the ink that we were sending through it. And so, like, I remember just throwing printheads at stuff just to try to get it to print better. And there are so many things I think we could have done better. We didn't know. Again, like these shops, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know until you experience it. So as you're trying to diagnose, do I need a new printhead? There's really only 2 things that are like a yes, get a new printhead. And those are clogged nozzles or a fried printhead. If you are doing nozzle checks and you cannot get your nozzle, all of your nozzles to fire off right, like there's gaps in it and stuff like that, that's not necessarily means the printhead's bad. When you're doing a nozzle check and those holes, those missing nozzles move around, like every time you do a cleaning or something like that, and the nozzles that are missing, the little dashes out of the nozzle check are missing and they're moving around, that just means you have air in your system and you should address that problem. It could be from a leak in like a hose somewhere, like a very small, tiny hole that's letting air in, but not letting any ink out. It could be that your damper's not seated properly on the printhead, and that's allowing air into the system that way. I know a lot of y'all have like very, very dirty tops of your printhead. Like your printhead has got all sorts of ink down in the well where the little nipple is that the damper presses onto. Y'all have dirty tops of your printheads. Okay. But those are some common places where air can get in and cause those missing nozzles to move around. However, if the nozzles do not move, like they look the same, the missing nozzles look the same every single time, it means you have a clogged printhead. Now, does it mean you need to immediately just yank it and throw it away? No. If it's like one or two nozzles, maybe a handful of nozzles, I think with the i3200s, when you get past like 3 or 4 or 5 nozzles that are clogged up, you're going to have some color performance issues. So you would want to kind of deal with that accordingly. If it's the white printheads, my color head's still the original, few years old, been running DuPont ink from the start. Well, I've changed once. That was due to my experience in the beginning environment. Yep, for sure. Now, your CMYK generally, it won't usually the white is what causes you more clog problems than the CMYK, but one of the shops I was at this week had a very like distinct clog in their color printhead. So if you see a few nozzles missing, I would encourage you to try to wet cap it with some cleaning solution. There's also some other kinds of solutions out there. Don't use Windex. Don't use Simple Green that has ammonia, because Windex has ammonia. Not good. But you want to basically sit it, like wet cap it and let it sit for like 30, 45 minutes, then do a couple cleanings and nozzle checks. If that doesn't solve it, you can remove it and try to flush the printhead. So a clogged nozzle, you basically want to attack it by wet capping for a while, trying load ink in a couple cleanings. Then if that doesn't work, you might try wet capping it overnight. And then the next thing for clogged is try to like flush it. There are a lot of tools out there for like, there's called the printhead doctors and stuff like that. And I've used them with, I don't say limited success, but inconsistent success. So I think your best bet when you are trying to flush a printhead, trying to dislodge a clog, is to basically take the printhead out, clean it as best you can, flushing some solution through it. What I would tell you though is a lot of people will try to like fill up a syringe with cleaning solution and try to basically force the solution through the printhead. And I'm going to say, I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think it's better to get your printhead out, set it in a small, like in a Tupperware that's got a little bit of cleaning solution in the bottom of it, like a 1/4 of an inch, something like that. And then I want you to actually pull through, like basically an empty syringe, and pull the cleaning solution up through the printhead. Because if you think about it, if that's clogged, it's clogging at the nozzle. That nozzle that fires out is the smallest point in the whole ink system is that nozzle. If that nozzle is clogged, you're not going to dislodge it by pushing it out. You have a way better chance of dislodging it by pulling it back up through the system. So basically what you want to do is keep that printhead in that like little, very shallow bath of cleaning solution and pull on the syringe. The other thing is that's going to keep you from accidentally putting too much pressure on the printhead, because the printheads can only handle like a couple PSI before they have issues. And you might blow out there's a rubber like damper, or there's a rubber like insert. I'm trying to think of the right word to call it. A rubber gasket type thing that's in there that helps flow the ink where it needs to go. If you put too much pressure on it, you could blow that gasket out. And so you want to pull the cleaning solution up through the printhead, hopefully dislodging that clog and bringing it out the top where it'll actually come out. Once you do that, basically the only thing you do is basically put it back in the printer and test it to see if you got rid of that clog. Now, one of the things I will tell you, please, 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 if you take your printhead out and you're cleaning it, there is gonna be solution, cleaning solution, moisture that gets into the ribbon cable ports on the side. Get yourself some compressed air and blow it out and then let it sit for a bit to dry. Because if you plug those ribbon cables back in with any moisture in there and you turn on the system, it will short out that ribbon cable and fry your printhead. So the clog, basically where the nozzles don't move around, is one of the reasons you might retire a printhead. If the nozzles are moving around, that's just air in the system and you need to deal with that. That's either bad ink, like not good ink, or you've got a leak somewhere in the system. And early days, we didn't get good nozzle checks. Now I expect you to be able to get a solid nozzle check. When I taught DTF boot camps a while ago, that was one of the things I said is like, you don't need to worry about having a perfect nozzle check because it'll be fine. Now, as a color specialist, I know if I'm missing a few nozzles, my colors have a tendency or will be off. But in those early days, color was such an enigma for the industry. It really didn't matter that much. So clogged printhead, definitely that's going to be new printhead for sure. If you can't dislodge the clog doing what I just told you. The other thing is that, and I've run across this a lot, people don't seal the ribbon cables going into the printhead when it's in the actual printer, whether they're using tape, like the Prestige R2 Pro uses tape. Actually, I'll show you guys. Let me swap over to this camera. Phone camera. Oh, yeah. So if you look here, there's tape that is sealing off my ribbon cables. So if I spill ink in there, it's not going to fry my printhead. And that's one thing that happens a lot and I've seen it all the time, is as you're messing with the dampers or something, you drop a little bit of ink on that ribbon cable, it runs its way in there and then shorts it out. That printhead's dead. And what that looks like when you're trying to print is it won't do a nozzle check. It won't do anything. It'll throw an error at you. And the easiest way to diagnose it, especially if you have multiple heads, is to unplug the ribbon cables from the carriage board. So up top, unplug the ribbon cables, all of them, and then plug them in one head at a time. So if you have a 4-head machine, test with printhead 1, see if it runs. Test with printhead 2, 1 and 2, see if it runs. 3 and 4. So you're basically just trying to find out which one is causing you that issue, because it's not always visible when you're looking at it. But when you take it out, you'll see a little burn mark out of that ribbon cable. You'll see maybe a scorch mark on the port where the ribbon cable goes in. If that happens, your printhead is dead. Things that are not your printhead being dead. You guys got some good questions. I will get to your questions. Ooh, Mike, I'm gonna call on you in just a second, okay? What's not a printhead issue? That wavy, like when you're trying to print an all cyan or an all magenta block of color and you get that wavy kind of pattern, not banding. Banding is a humidity issue. That's not a printhead issue. If you're getting all your nozzles, if all your nozzles are firing and you're still banding, it is not a printhead issue. If you get that wavy look in a solid color, that's not a printhead issue. Those are ink flow issues or environment issues or film issues. This is why DTF is so hard when things don't go perfectly. When things go perfectly, you don't have issues. It is like, I'm like printing money. Like that's how it feels for a lot of folks. But when things go wrong, the problem is it could be this or this or this or this. So when you see that wavy pattern in a cyan or magenta, usually those are the two that it shows up in most for whatever reason. Those are ink flow issues or like a damper ink. When I say ink flow issue, I mean could be the filter, could be the dampers, could be an ink line, could be basically from the ink getting from the container to the actual printhead. That's your ink flow issue. So I'm talking about checking that whole system. But I have seen it be also a film issue that causes that waviness. Banding is almost always an environment issue. Address your environment and it's going to fix a lot of your banding problems if you're getting a perfect nozzle check. And again, that's why I say nowadays with the consumables we have, even the relatively inexpensive, like I've been on multiple group chats or threads on the Facebook group asking about what's the best ink. And I always comment Color Prime, DuPont, Ink Bank in that order. Ink Bank is a fairly inexpensive ink, but it works way better than it did in the early days. Early days, it was one of our problems. But so good consumables will help address a lot of those things. But you should be getting a perfect nozzle check. If you're not, got to address something in there. But like I said, a lot of times it's not actually the printhead. And there's a lot of other behaviors, like if the prints are like if you've ever, I've seen a few posts about it. I've not personally experienced this, but where you get like a ghosted image, like on the other side of your film, like you get the main image and then all of a sudden there's weird ghost over here. That's because the printhead's actually firing off over there when it's not supposed to be. That oftentimes is not the printhead. I could say maybe a few scenarios it might be, but most of the time that's like an encoder strip issue. And if you don't know what an encoder strip is, it is the little kind of plastic, looks clear plastic like ruler that's on the back side, right ahead of the rail, right above the greased rail where the carriage runs. That encoder strip has a bunch of little tiny black hash marks that are equally spaced, and there's a little optical reader that reads those dashes and knows, that way the printer knows where it's at a microscopic level. The only way you can see those bars is if you put a microscope to it. And if that is dirty, or your sensor that reads it is dirty, it can cause the printhead to fire in weird places. And again, that's not because there's an issue with the printhead, it's because there's an issue with the encoder strip. So all of this to say, clean your stuff. If you guys have more questions about printheads and how we kind of diagnose whether it's a printhead issue or something else, get the questions in the chat. But I'm going to segue to what I saw in some of these shops this week. The first shop I was in has been doing DTF for 5 years. They had one of the early machines. I have never seen a dustier environment. And it was like more like lint dust. And the machine was not being wiped off. Like the capping station was fine. It looked good. It looked clean. The wiper blade looked clean. It printed well, but there was dust everywhere. And because I opened up some panels that had not been opened in a long time, I dislodged a lot of dust, and dust, like little lint dust bunnies, kept falling on my prints. So I had to like reprint my scanning charts multiple times. So clean your stuff. Just drives me bonkers that we're not doing that. And I mentioned I mentioned to the people that were running the machine, and like, oh, nobody told us we had to do that. I'm like, guys, let's do some basics. Let's talk about some basics. Every day, clean the top of your capping station, clean your wiper blade, clean the underside of your carriage, like all around the print heads and stuff like that. Print heads may or may not need it on a daily. And then on a weekly basis, wipe the whole thing down, like all of it, like open the panels, wipe it down, dust it off, dust off the top of the rail, that metal, the big kind of the backbone of the printer. Every shop I go into, that is never dusted. Dust that, because that stuff will fall on your prints. Another thing that a lot of folks are not doing is nobody's greasing that rail. Now, I'm trying to find what is the best grease to use for that, so I cannot give a recommendation, but we should be greasing those rails on a bi-monthly basis or something like that. It's going to help everything move a lot better. And then another shop I was at this week, their environment was not venting properly. And so you print it in there for a few hours. It was hazy. And I was just in there for a day, so I wasn't too worried about it. But people are working in these environments, guys, and you've got to be careful. When you see stuff in the air, you're breathing that stuff in. So even if you have some fume extraction, your fume extraction might not be good enough if you're seeing hazy. And they weren't using any internal fume extractors. They were using like the grow fans to pull the air out. But if your environment's getting hazy, get better extraction and or vent your room and make sure there's some makeup air that brings some fresh air in. And a lot of you guys that watch, I know a lot of you guys are on literally every week with me, and you hear me say some of these things all the time. And I'm probably not going to stop saying them all the time, because somehow people that have been doing this for years are still missing some core stuff that makes a huge difference, like environment. Every one of these shops I went into were dry. They were running 25, 30% humidity, and they were all having to run strong A on their occlusion to get it to print halfway decently. So I'm going to end up saying these things all the time, because the shops that are they don't realize they're struggling because they've just not been told any different. So, all right, let me get to some of these questions. You guys were like popping off there a little bit. Our friend down in Belize, can the damper or wiper damage the printhead? So the dampers are on the top side, so they're fine. Not going to be an issue there. The capping stations, if something failed and your capping station rose before the printheads came back over, it could damage them. Your wiper blade, that is like the only thing in the entire system that touches your printhead. So that is like one of the things you should make sure is in the best condition. If your wiper blade does one of these things, get a new wiper blade. If you're wondering when you should swap it out, if you can't clean it to make it look like it's original, black or blue, depending on the kind you have, if you can't make it look like the day you got your machine, swap out your wiper blade, because that is the only piece of equipment or part of the system that actually touches your printhead, because it scrapes the excess ink off the end of it. So if your docking station is too high, it can. Your capping station tops should depress about 30 to 40%. If they're not, you need to raise that capping station height. And let me show you how to raise that capping station height. Let's go. Whoops. No, I can't. I'm not plugged in. I can't. I will have to address that on another live stream, because I just realized I'm not plugged in to my printer right now. But in the advanced settings, there's a place, and it's the pump. It's in the ink stack tab, and it's like pump the ink stack or something like that. Maybe at the end of the stream, if I got time, I'll plug everything in so I actually can pull that stuff up. Slovakia. Thanks for joining. Thanks for commenting. First time. Glad to have you here. It's probably like 9 or something there. Pulling ink through the top definitely helps and makes total sense. I've recovered the color a few times doing that. I've also recovered the clean with the, yep. So ultrasonic cleaners, those are like those jewelry cleaners. They're oddly satisfying to watch videos online where you put the jewelry in there and goes, and you see all this like dirt come out of it. I love it. That is a valid way to do it as well. So if you have access to an ultrasonic cleaner, you could try that. Again, be careful though, because most of those ultrasonic cleaners are designed to be fully submerged, like fully submerge the product. And if you're just trying to do your printhead, see if you can get it to work just going like 1/4 of an inch in, basically just up to the, like there's a metal kind of cap on the printhead when you pull it out. Just go up to that metal cap. Don't go to where the ribbon cables connect and plug in. Let's see. I'm going to get to Mike's here in a second. So I don't need to set up a Grey's Anatomy style arrangement of paper towels around my printer when changing the dampers. You should. First of all, love the reference. Yes. You should put on some rubber gloves. Have somebody say stat to you because then you feel more special. If you are playing with your dampers, turn off your machine. Turn it off till you're done goofing around with your dampers. If you have silicone sealant, you're going to be fine. If you have the tape type sealant, you're probably going to be fine. I'm still going to turn off my machine when I'm playing with dampers because I don't want to run the risk. And that way, if I do spill, like let's say you don't have silicone around the ribbon cable ports or tape, let's say you spill that, you have the opportunity, if the machine's off, to pull out that ribbon cable, clean it off, dry it off, make sure it's good, plug it back in, and you're good to go. So when you are playing with your dampers, I would always turn off your machine just so it doesn't possibly short it out. Have I taken apart and just cleaned the manifold? So the manifold is not where stuff's going to get clogged. If you're getting clogs, it's in the actual nozzle that fires, the final piece of the puzzle, because there's really nothing that can get through to clog those manifolds. There's so many little filters in the dampers and stuff like that that I can't see a way of doing that. I will tell you, I have had zero success, and somebody else out there may have had success. I've had zero success completely dismantling a printhead and having it work again. So there's like usually 4 screws on the top that pull apart the actual printhead, and then there's this rubber manifold is the right word, not gasket, what I said earlier. There's this rubber manifold that kind of moves the channels, where the ink channels where they need to go, and it also protects the circuitry that's inside of the printhead from all the ink that's running through it. I have not seen anybody truly take it apart and have it work the same after the fact. Thank you for joining the chat. Don't know if that's something I don't understand. All right. Would a dirty printhead wiper cause a print to stop mid-print? No. The only thing that would cause something to stop mid-print is if something hits the collision sensor. Most of the printers now have collision sensors. That would cause it to stop mid-print. Trying to think what else would cause it to stop mid-print. It could also just be a data backlog, like as it's sending data to the printer. A lot of printers these days are using USB, and that's a little bit slower protocol, except for maybe USB-C. So if it's using Ethernet, and it might be just a lagging data. I've seen that happen before. I've seen a printer go beep, 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 like wait, and it's usually a lag in the data, and that can be caused by just something buffering in the computer itself. A lot of different ways that might happen, but no, nothing about a dirty nothing is going to, nothing dirty is going to cause it to stop mid-print. It just might cause other ancillary issues. So, super lube. Hey guys, do not Google super lube. You might get in trouble. If you search for it on AutoZone first. I'm just kidding. Using super lube, multi-purpose, synthetic grease to grease the rail. Yep, should work the same. Like I said, I haven't had much experience to like say this is the one you guys should use. When I do, I will take care of that. I'll let you guys know. I'll like put a link in. Yeah, Coleman, indeed. If your loved one has experienced a lung issue due to DFI printing, you may be entitled to financial compensation. I think the EPA will crack down on some of that stuff at some point. Like, I think that's why DuPont doesn't put ethylene glycol in their inks, is because they're expecting at some point the EPA will probably crack down on something along those lines. But honestly, guys, we can deal with it. We can. It's not the fumes that come off it are not insurmountable. It's not something you can't take care of. It is something that's easily. Just bring an exhaust fan from Harbor Freight or something. Anywhere. Just get that room some fresh air. You should be able to breathe. in your workspace. Yeah, ink stack height, correct, Mike. That was how to adjust the height of the capping station under the print head carriage. Jonathan, what's happening? I'm gonna go with Johan. Usually there's two N's and then that's a Han, not a Han. Anyway, thank you for commenting. No, it is not released yet. I was home for Thanksgiving, but family was in town, so I chose to take a week off. Heaven forbid I take a break. I don't usually take too many breaks. But I haven't had a chance to finish editing it yet. And then I was on the road all last week. I'm leaving literally today, and I'm going to be on the road all this week. I'm actually going to Kansas City for 2 days and then Canada. Oh, Canada. It's supposed to be negative 17 when I'm there. I was working on my Christmas lights outside last night, and I was working in t-shirt and shorts because it was colder. I'm just trying to prep myself for the cold. I do have a parka. I do have like a nice, really good big jacket. I've got gloves. I'm prepared. But I'm not looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to going to this shop that's up in Canada. It's going to be fun. I've had multiple conversations with him. So, okay, I said something funny at some point, guys. I get behind on these chat because if I don't like just finish my statement, like talk through like the subject, I get distracted by y'all. Multi-use? No, not what you're thinking, Julio. Let's just be clear. Let's keep this family friendly. No. And I figured this question was going to come up because I've already had a couple people message me. I have not gotten my hands on Digital Factory 12. I had really hoped that my rep was going to get me a beta version of it, but he didn't. So I've got the paperwork done to get my new version. The thing is I'm having to pay for the profiling add-on, which sadly for all of you that have Digital Factory 11 will have to pay for the profiling add-on for the new Digital Factory 12. Unless you bought it super, super recently. If you did buy the profiling add-on recently, reach out to me and I can give you the specifics. But the new profiling module for Digital Factory is a Fiery profiling module. So it comes from the Fiery portion of the Fiery company. Fiery that existed before they bought Digital Factory. So the entire profiling module and profiling setup is completely different. So I've had a few people reach out about switching to 12. I am right now not comfortable for people to switch to 12. If you want to do it and have zero support, more power to you. Happily sell you the license. But until I get my hands on it, which I'm planning to get it in the next week or so, and then over Christmas, I'm planning to play with it and like actually get somewhat familiar with it. But until I get my hands on it, I'm not ready to push anybody toward Digital Factory 12 because you are going to have to buy the profiling. And because it's a Fiery product, I also have to buy the profiling add-on. So, yeah, so it is what it is. Not in love with the situation, but it's fine. And ultimately, if you guys have 11 and you're happy with it, like you just want to change. When you make big changes in your business, do it very calculated. What I mean by that is like just because something new came out, don't immediately buy it and stick it in your system because there's going to be a learning curve and it may change some things. So I would encourage you to like keep going. And then like, honestly, like they just stopped support of 10, not terribly long ago, a few months ago. So my assumption is they'll continue to support 11 for quite a while. So until I get my like hands on it and actually use it, I'm sure it's going to be better. I know from previous experience in some printing that Fiery is really, really good. So I expect to see some better things coming out of it, but I don't know. Estevan, of course I'm going to be there. I might even come bug you at your booth. I will be at Impressions in Long Beach, and I will be at the DTF Station booth the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and then walking the floor on my own on Saturday, kind of like what I did at Printing United. So, yep, Kansas City, going up there. No, I don't. A little fun fact, they were actually already part of the same company once before. So before Epson bought Fiery, Fiery was a part of EFI. EFI also owned InEdit. So the fact that Fiery bought InEdit, it's not a huge deal from like a end user standpoint. It's a huge deal for Fiery because now they have all this textile because Fiery was really big in like the digital print, like Konica Minolta office printers, like the kind of the paper brochure type kind of stuff. They were really big in there. And I think they're purchasing of like Digital Factory, CADLink, and then now they're bringing in an edit. I think they're just trying to build up a wider kind of like swath of the printing industry. I don't think things will change, but if I could predict the future, I'd go buy a lottery ticket and never work again. So I would hope not. Everything sounds like they're positioning Digital Factories, kind of their production software, and Neo Stampa as their premium kind of option, because Neo Stampa is already huge in sublimation, digital textile printing. That's not something Digital Factory was necessarily big in before. So I think there's like kind of a place for both of them to exist, and that's what I expect that they will do. And I will tell you, just when it comes to tweaking, like getting the most out of a profile or getting the most out of what your system setup is doing, digital or a Neo Stampa is a lot better for that. It just has more controls. Like I have more levers and buttons I can push and pull to get my ink to behave a little differently. Actually, one of the shops I was at this week, everything was coming out, all the grays were coming out hewing slightly magenta-y. And there's not really an easy way for me to like move anything to like get it to behave a little differently. Like it's kind of gross adjustments. You're like, change all of this or change all of this. Whereas like Neo Stampa, I can go into just an individual ink channel, limit it a little bit, tweak with like how it's. So there's a lot more control and finesse, which is really good for like dialing in a system. But Digital I like both of them. Like 2 of the 3 shops I went to were running Digital Factory, and we got great looking profiles out of it. So they both can be really good. What's happening? Karting Mania. Lando is the world champion. I'm a big F1 fan. Karting Mania knows it. My boy Lando won the F1 championship. And my son calls me and he says, "Is this what it feels like to be a non-Phoenix sports fan?" And my son was like, I was dying because my son's like, every team we have is horrible. The Suns disappoint us. The Cardinals disappoint us. I'm like, well, the Diamondbacks won the World Series in 2001. And my son's like, I wasn't even born yet. So anyway, congrats, Lando. My favorite driver, has been since 2018 when he joined McLaren. I love it. Anyway, okay, Coleman, while he's taking his final, I've been told it's not as great as what it was made out to be. Supposedly, I felt forced a lot of Epson drivers. Are you talking about the Digital Factory 12? Nothing new with CADLink, at least not positive. I feel the ganging side of things has gone backwards, if anything. Okay, interesting. So there's a few people that have used it, but like I said, I'm going to hold out my judgment till I actually get my hands on it. Profiling should be better. Correct. There's not like if you're already set up, this is where I'm not good at sales, everyone. This is where I am not a salesman. I'm a really good technician. I understand, like, I can get into the nitty-gritty of stuff. I can teach stuff. Like, that's my wheelhouse. I am not great at sales because of this exact thing. If I don't see an absolute reason for you to switch something, I'm not going to tell you to switch it. If you want to switch it, please. If you want Digital Factory 12, please buy it from me. But right now, I don't see a hard pressed reason to switch. It's why I go into shops that run Digital Factory, and I will tell them, you don't need to switch to Neo Stampa. You're getting good results from what you have. Wholesale changing the way you do stuff to go with Neo Stampa when it's not a like slam dunk better, I'm not going to do it. So that's why I kind of suck at sales. Because if I don't think you need it, I'm really not going to sell it to you. Like if you want to, if you really, really want to buy it, more power to you. But I'm only going to recommend things that I think are actually going to help you do what you do better, which is run your business and make freaking money and print money with DTF, because that's what we're doing. Jonathan, we will have to connect. We will have to connect because you've been on every single live stream and I still haven't seen you in person yet. I do not distribute Color Prime ink. I do not have a preferred distributor. Thank you, Lana, for the lovely segue to the sponsor of all of my live streams is DTF Station. DTF Station has partnered up with me to help support this education piece of what I do. I think if I didn't have their support, I'd be really hesitant to make more videos because, I don't make a ton yet right now because I'm on the road so much. But at least it's some income coming from the YouTube side of things because AdSense, don't get a lot from that, especially because my videos are not going to go viral. I don't expect my videos to go viral because then it brings in an audience we don't want. We want the audience that needs the information I've got. And quite frankly, if you're not a DTF person, this is boring. It's really boring. My wife, love her to death. She suffers and watches these live streams. She doesn't care. So DTF Station, love their stuff. I love this printer. I treat it horribly. I think it's because their ink is so good. So Lana, to answer your question, no, don't have a preferred distributor. Just go to DTF Station's website and look for one that's near you. That's probably your best bet. Now, some of their distributors do drop ship. DTF Station does allow that option, which means it might be shipping from California. So if you want to have ready access to Color Prime ink, find a distributor that's relatively nearby and just see if they actually stock the ink in-house or if they are drop shipping, because that will change your shipping times and stuff like that. So do I have a preferred board? Only because I know it so well is the Hosen. I have played with BYHX quite a bit. I like the customizability, meaning I can go in and tell it the arrangement of the heads. I can tell the color arrangement. It's real easy for me in BYHX to change that stuff. And I didn't learn it by someone teaching it to me. I learned it because I went into a shop and what their dealer, when you use big air quotes, what their dealer sent them was not working right. And they couldn't tell us how to make it work right. So I sat down and put on my I'm going to break stuff hat and figured out how to make it work right. So what I know from BYHX is purely from figuring it out. I do like their alignment checks to a degree. But again, I'm not sure that I'm using them right because I've not had anybody that actually understood how to work it. So call to any BYHX expert. If I know more than you, I'm just kidding. But Hosen, just because I know it so well. I know all the a lot of the ins and outs of it. I know the little places to find things. It's just because I've had a lot of experience with it. But BYHX is good. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know it very well. And I've not found somebody out there that really, truly knows BYHX in depth. So still waiting on that. Carding Mania, I'm about to ban you from the chat. Texas. When am I going to be in Texas? I don't know. There's a shop that's on my wait list to get in before right now. I'm booked through the first week of February. So, and I don't think I'm going to have any cancellations because it's 3 entire weeks plus impressions. So there's not really too many opportunities to squeeze stuff in there. But if you're interested in having me come out, reach out to me, send me an email, colorgamutconsulting@gmail.com, and I can put you on the wait list, or we can work on getting you and maybe a couple other shops on the schedule. But I don't need to be in a specific area to help you out. I happily oftentimes plan specific trips. So if you need to bring me out, that $2,500 fee will bring me out there. Like, I don't need it to be multiple shops coming. So if you have one printer and you need me to come out, $2,500, I will come out there. No dancing around. If you want to get on the schedule, like if you want to get on the schedule the week after I'm in Florida for a week, then let's do it. Let's get you on there. Yeah. More comments about Digital Factory 12. We will see. All right. This is a good question. Now, I'm kind of wondering. Yes. I'll have to find out if there's anybody in Africa, because I know they have dealers in Australia, in Europe, in Asia, in South America. I don't know about South Africa. I'll have to find out. So here's the deal with entry-level spectrophotometers. You can get a NIX that'll do a pretty good job. Oftentimes, the software add-ons that are working with the NIX are a little bit limited, in my opinion. Like the NIX Mini will get you in the right ballpark. Like if you want to buy the NIX Mini and get Digital Factory's profiling add-on, you can do it. And it will give you better results than just the default profiles in Digital Factory. But you're not going to get like really, really great results. You're going to get good. So if you want just better than what you have right now, the NIX Mini and a profiling add-on for like Digital Factory would be perfectly great. If you have a different RIP that doesn't have a profiling software, you need something to build profiles with. And although I'm talking, I actually had a call last week with a French company that have a profiling software that's like $500 or something like that. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but they've given me full access so I can tweak with it. But that might be a better, like a little less expensive solution than getting an i1 profiler. Because if you get a X-Rite i1 Pro 3, that's like a $2,000 Spectro. I think there's a dealer I work with that gives people actually a little bit better deal than that, somewhere in that ballpark. A couple of you guys that maybe bought it can comment below if you've gotten a better deal than that. But he's been getting people good deals on the X-Rite like on its own. But if you want the i1 profiler like application, it's way more expensive. It's like $1,700 just to add that piece to it. So that would be like the i1 Publish or whatever. So yeah, entry level is going to be like the NIX, but you're going to get entry level results. And if you ask Coleman will tell you real quick. Coleman who's we're not going to do that because my wife is in rainy Portland. We're not going to do that, Coleman. She's getting into the hat game. So I've got the Hottronics hat heat press, the 360 IQ, and a lot of hats sitting over here. But anyway, yeah, back to the Spectros. NIX is going to be your best inexpensive entry level. There is a new Epson. I think it's like the SD10. I haven't had a chance to like use it and see how it works. I think that one's a little less expensive than some of the, like, it's kind of like a mid tier kind of one. But NIX does have better spectrophotometers, but I feel like even if I'm using like the NIX Spectro L or the Spectro 2 or something like that, there's still some limitations. I think the Spectro 2 is a little closer to like an i1 Pro 3, but a lot of the add-ons, like the add-on for Digital Factory, still treats it kind of like an inferior kind of spectro, so it doesn't give me as many scanning swatches. Like that's one of my beefs with the NICS, like the PCM Lite, which is the NICS profiling add-on for Digital Factory 11, is that it only gives me like 88 swatches for my ICC profile, which every single profiler I've talked to says more swatches is better. So yeah, Coleman, we're definitely not doing that. I'm a designer, majorly grunge, distressed streetwear. Got into DTF only because some resell my designs when I send to print. Yep. Finding out printing is actually not my best decision. So totally valid, dude. Like, I hate it when companies steal people's designs. Like that is infuriating. So I get why you want to print your own, and with good reason. But yeah, it's not an easy road. Printing with DTF is not easy. If it was, everybody would do it, and everybody's doing it, and it's not easy. So anyway, let's see. Keep going through. You guys are just popping off on my chat today. I'm barely getting through it all. You know what, Matuba? I've been in Kansas City 2 or 3 times driving my son back and forth from school, from Arizona to Minnesota. And I have never been blown away. And I've looked for like the best spots, and they've been okay, but never like, I'm never like, oh my gosh, greatest thing ever. Now, part of that's because I cook my own food. I smoke my own meat at home. So I don't know. Maybe I'll find some good stuff this time. Maybe. We shall see. Using X-Rite 413 on our Monero printer years ago, it changed things. Yeah. The X-Rite is kind of the industry standard. It's really, really good. There's like a Barbary Spectro. Those are really expensive, and I don't think are necessary for what we do in this industry. But the i1 is really great. So Coleman, that's just because you want really good results. If somebody wants just something better than the default profiles, the NICS is sufficient to give you better. Is it going to be great? No. And as Coleman's learning, Coleman's doing actually a pretty good job. He's doing his own profiling. And so we've had more than a few chats about his profiling. He's doing a pretty good job. But a lot of times there's a lot of pain and suffering when you try to go down the profiling road yourself. There's a lot of things that I've just learned and picked up from profiling so many machines and working with some other profilers that it's hard to like translate all that information. So I do the best I can, but there's still a learning curve, even with a really nice spectrophotometer. So just be aware of that. Like if you're going to go down the route of profiling, be prepared for it to be frustrating, but also very exciting at the same time. But if you're like me and you want to learn more stuff, do it. Go for it. It's knowledge is power, y'all. When you have the ability to do stuff yourself, it's huge. Okay, Carding Mania. Coming in hot with all sorts of controversial opinions. I'm guessing you really hate, not rate. My profiles in CADLink are brilliant. I just wish I could provide Neostampa from there, as I'm really struggling to get accurate profiles in Neostampa. So let me explain a couple things. One, Coleman found this out. Let me see. He's got a question. Hold on 1 second. Okay, Coleman had this little issue where he forgot to turn the ICCs back on or back off or something like that, and so his results were not ideal. I feel I can get really, really great profilers. I can get great profiles with all of these things that Carding Mania has mentioned. I can get a great profile with iOwn Profiler. I can get a great profile with Digital Factory. I can get a great profile with Neostampa. Now, what defines a great profile? That is a huge question and something that I don't think anybody has a good answer for, because it depends on what you're trying to achieve. Because what I've found is that if you follow the instructions from Neostampa, you are going to get really good vibrancy, really good saturation, but not very accurate grays. And this is not just a G7 thing. This is like if somebody sends you the hex code DDDDDDD, it should come out just straight gray, like not hueing a little bit magenta, hueing a little bit like yellow or whatever. I have found that Neostampa's default settings on stuff, it does that. It's not a super accurate profile from like a grays being neutral gray. It's a lot of vibrancy, a lot of saturation, really good from those standpoints. So I actually use a lot of settings in there that Neostampa says not to use, or they don't recommend necessarily. But there's other things where it works better than what traditional, like if I use D50 on the illuminant, 10 degrees on the observer, and M1, which is what we use for most other profiling stuff. Like that's what I use on a lot of other things. It doesn't look right in Neostampa. It looks better if I do D65, 10, and M2. That looks way better. That's different from what I would do in other softwares. So there are a lot of reasons why, and all three of these, Profiler, Digital Factory, and Neostampa all use slightly different settings that if you're not familiar with them or the way that that particular software wants to behave, you will very easily find yourself with an ugly profile. Now, what's a good profile? Are you talking about trying to match Pantones? Because there really isn't a good digital, I don't care what print process, not just DTF, any digital print process does not have a finite way to match Pantones digitally. Now, there's a couple of companies at Printing United. I seriously need like a month. Can I just stop time for a month so I can test like 8 different softwares? There is oh, you did mean rate. Hold on. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. There are softwares out there that they're saying you can digitally match Pantones, but I have not seen one yet that does it well. But so if you're trying to match Pantones, you're always going to have to do it somewhat manually. I can get really, really close with an X-Rite and Neostampa. I build the profile, and then on the spot colors, if I scan that spot color with my X-Rite, like if I scan the physical color, like out of the Pantone book, and I tell Neostampa to print it, if it's capable of printing that color, it pretty much does. It's really, really close. The shop I was in a few weeks ago, we were within 2 delta E on our worst one. A couple of them were like bang on perfect. So it depends on what you're looking for when you say accuracy. If you're printing a photo, which we're not printing a ton of photos, you want a more natural like profile, like what Digital Factory might give you. Or like I said, with Neostampa, they tend to default with their settings to a little more saturation, a little over saturation, in my opinion, sometimes. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. And with this stuff, there's more than one way in each one of these softwares. So it can be a little bit confusing. Yeah, I agree, Coleman. Just get the i1 Pro 3 and deal with the cost later or cry about it later. Yep. Best spectrum, in my opinion, is the i1 Pro 3. The basic version has a smaller aperture. The Plus has a bigger aperture, which is not entirely necessary for us. It does help for if you have trouble with a scan, there's a little more data it can collect. But for the most part, you guys can get away well with an i1 Pro 3 Basic. I know a few of you out there got the Plus because my recommendation was that, and it used to be that. I actually have both of them. It was that because, yes, cost of doing business. It was the Plus because I was under the impression that it was like for textiles, which it is. But we don't exactly print textiles. We print plastic and we stick it on a textile, technically speaking. The i1 Pro 3 Plus is more for like profiling digital fabric printers, like and sublimation. That's what that's more designed for, because it handles more of the variation in like weave and stuff like that. So, but both will work. Both will work well. Coleman, I appreciate the feedback. Thank you, Jonathan. And literally, Coleman got a call from me from my hotel room this week because I was like, "Did you turn on your ICCs, sir?" It's like, "I swear I did," and I've done it before. I've done the exact same thing. Sweet. Just be careful with the Pro 2 is that one's being discontinued. Like their support is discontinuing on it. So at a certain point, you may not be able to use it in some softwares. So just be aware of that. But that's a great deal on the Pro 2. All right. Well, that was a lot. Do you guys have any more questions? If you guys got more questions, let me know. Otherwise, huge thanks to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, if you haven't already, enter the contest. It ends on Friday. So I'm planning to blitz Facebook with some ads. So you guys might see some ads on Facebook this week if I've targeted it properly. I called like 2 or 3 like digital ad companies to see if they could help me like target, and they freaking won't return my calls. So I'm going to figure it out myself. But you guys will probably see some ads on Facebook for the giveaway. If you haven't entered, please enter. Giveaway ends Friday night, and I will be doing the drawing live on the live stream next week on Monday. I'll have a good topic to talk about too, but we should have a pretty good turnout for that live stream. But yeah, we'll call it. I'm going to get some work done before I head out to Kansas City and then to the great white north that is Canada and freeze my tookus off. But anyway, thanks again all for watching. Appreciate you. If I missed anything, let me know. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys. You guys are wonderful. I love this audience. I love the interaction. I love the differing opinions. I take like seriously, if you guys ever disagree with me on something I'm saying, please, like, let's go. That's how we learn. That's how we get better, is by challenging what we think we know and think we should be doing. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Wonderful holiday season. Sign up for the giveaway, and I will see you all next week for the giveaway live stream. Should be a fun one. I'll maybe do something fun inside of there. Might get some friends to join the live stream or something. We'll see. See you guys next week. Bye.